You're listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.
Ruben Roman, you're with Trinity Oaks.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming out here, man.
Thanks for having me.
Like I told you earlier, I was super excited to get a hold of you. I know when I first started the podcast, I told you earlier, I was real interested in talking to you guys. And then you're hard to find, man. You guys are real hard to find. It's like you exist, but kind of in the backdrop. You know, you're hard to run down. And so I found out that y'all did some meat processing.
Yes, sir.
They're off of 3009, and
Yes,
I live in Selma. So actually, it was with the food bank in New Braunfels. I was talking to Monica over there.
Okay.
And because we talked before about processing wild game, you know, I have this weird thought. Maybe it's not so weird. Maybe everything else is weird.
Is it like a hot take on processing wild food, like wild game, or
like pigs, right?
Okay.
So I say, okay, we got a hunger problem and we have a pig problem. So it turns into this. I get that there's like USDA issues and things
Absolutely.
like that. But to me, it's more like I feel like it's more of a logistics problem because I ate wild hog growing up my whole life, and I'll be honest with you, it's probably one of the better meats that I care for. You know,
I agree.
So I think it's delicious. So to not be able to use that struck me a little funny. But I was talking to her about you, and she says, "Yeah, you know, we get some meat from them. I think y'all take some to the food bank in San Antonio."
Yes, sir.
And so I ended up looking y'all up, and I ran into I forget the gentleman's name out there out at the processing center.
Mario.
Older gentleman.
Were you at our processing center or the food banks?
Years.
His name's Chuck.
Chuck, yes.
Yeah, Chuck's a character.
Chuck was awesome, man.
Yeah.
I went to go say hello and give him a card and explain to him what I wanted to do. And I ended up getting to see barbecue pits and processing places and things that he's working on. And
Yeah.
he's a character, man. He's very interesting. And apparently he makes an amazing brisket. I didn't have any, but apparently he makes amazing brisket.
You're missing out. Chuck definitely is. He's been there since the beginning of the processing plant. He was actually the one that approached Tom, the founder of our organization, to just process the meat ourselves.
Yeah.
Because Tom was spending all this money on, you know, you take an inner city kid to hunt, and then you got a buffalo or a bison or even a deer. They can't fit that meat in their freezer.
Sure.
And Chuck just came up to Tom. They go to church together, and he said, "Hey, well, why are we paying to do this? Why don't we just do it ourselves?" And of course, Tom being Tom said, "Okay."
Yeah.
And that's how that started. And Chuck's been there probably for about 10, 12 years now.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
I didn't realize you guys had been there so long.
Yeah, we've been processing deer for a while now.
So let's back up a little bit and tell everybody what exactly is Trinity Oaks?
The correct answer, I guess, would be Trinity Oaks is a nonprofit focused on taking veterans, youth, and people battling terminal illnesses out hunting, fishing, and getting them into the outdoors. We also serve special needs kids. We also do different day camps and things of that nature. But the main idea behind Trinity Oaks is giving back to make a difference in others' lives.
Yeah.
And within that, we find that nature, that, you know, just being out in God's creation is very relaxing. You learn a lot and you grow a lot.
Yeah.
And it allows us to have these moments with, whether it be a veteran or a parent of a sick kid that wouldn't have had, you know, that normalcy. When we go to the ranch, you have to pass a little creek. It's called the Leona River. And when you pass the Leona River, that's when the magic happens. The Thumbtack Ranch is where we're able to do the majority of our events, where we take people out, and we do a lot of stuff. We take people fishing down at Page's Place. This is one of our properties that we also own, and it's a fully handicap accessible house down there that allows us to take people and allow other people to use that facility at no cost. All they have to worry about is cleaning up after themselves. Trinity Oaks was started in, I want to say, about 2007. Could be a little earlier than that, because initially Tom was just taking kids hunting himself. His brother and him were doing that.
What is some of Tom's background as far as like, I guess what got him interested maybe in working with children like that? Because that's a lot of work, man. I'll be honest with you. Even to just take my nephews fishing, I don't get to fish, right? It's a lot of work.
So Tom grew up in South Texas. He grew up in Harlingen, Texas.
Okay.
And the way he describes it is they were too poor to pay attention. Mm-hmm. They had to, do things to go hunting and things like that they didn't want anyone else to have to worry about. They didn't want kids to worry about when they, were in a chant let me start that over. When they were in a place in their life that they were able to give back, that's what they wanted to do. Because they remember being, and when I say they, I talk about Mike Snyder, which is his brother, and Tom. They didn't want kids to feel like that. They wanted to, take kids and have those kids enjoy the hunting. And the biggest reasoning that he just decided to do it himself was he couldn't justify in his head giving X amount of dollars to an organization for that organization to then go and charge kids to go hunting.
Yeah.
So he said, well, how hard can it be? And that was the inception of Trinity Oaks. That's why we started doing what we started doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
Awesome. And so again, you guys, I guess the main one is Thumbtack.
Thumbtack is the main ranch that we use. We're very fortunate that we have ranch owners all across the state that allow us to come and hunt on their property. But Thumbtack is where we do the majority of our hunting and the majority of our events.
Now, you said it's been slowly evolving and taking on other things, but what is the bulk of what you guys do, and what's the bulk of, I guess, the type of people that you do it with? Is it mostly veterans, or do y'all do mostly youth kind of activities? I know y'all did like a kayaking shooting thing recently, didn't y'all? Yeah,
so that was actually our youth day. To answer that question, I can't answer that question honestly and say we're focused on veterans, we're focused on youth. We're just focused on helping as many people as we can. Those are the two biggest categories that we're able to impact, because we could get 100 kids out on a Saturday to go learn how to shoot a shotgun, shoot a rifle, shoot a bow, do all of these things safely.
Yeah.
And then teach them how to kayak and how to, maneuver in a river and things of that nature. We also had Texas Parks and Wildlife came out, and some of their biologists came out, and they were teaching the kids about tracking animals and different things with breeding and how to age a deer, and just teaching these kids the correct way of how to learn to hunt and why we hunt.
Yeah.
You always want to make sure when teaching anybody something new, how to be safe about doing it and how to continue doing it. So that's the focus with those youth days, is how can we get those kids out, to have future hunters that are going to carry on those traditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I've often felt is you always hear about, people wanting to save the planet and do well by the planet. And I've always said there's no better steward of the planet than a hunter or a fisherman or a woman, mm-hmm. Somebody who appreciates the land, somebody who uses the land, who feeds their family off of it. Nobody takes better care of it than somebody who hunts and fishes. So to be able to teach that to kids and other folks that may not have that opportunity as often as other people will, they can, that 1 or 2 or 3 times that they may go out, it sticks with them a long time. I grew up in a small town, and my dad was My dad hated guns growing up. He was not a gun guy. And you know, it was funny because I was always super curious. I had a cousin, his name was Levon, but we called him Boo Boo. But Boo Boo always had guns, you know. And so I just had this infatuation, wanting to mess with it, wanting to deal with it, which is not safe, you know. And so my buddy, who's this place belongs to, his dad had some property outside of town. So whenever I'd go do something, I'd usually go do it with him, you know, and we'd hunt, and they had a little tank out back with the catfish in it, and we'd ride four-wheelers and look around and watch animals. And I tell my wife, she's from San Antonio, I always tell her, you don't know how beautiful and nice it is just to sit there in the middle of a field and listen to the wind blow across the plains grass. I'm like, it is amazing. And she thinks I'm crazy. But
it's true.
It's beautiful, man. So to be able to give that to other kids, to be able to have them participate in that, it's something that they don't even realize how much they will love it, you know, especially the kayaking and the shooting and the bows and stuff. You see this stuff on TV, and you know, to be able to train them and teach them to shoot properly and to be safe with it, that's another big thing that I'm huge on. And I'm not the best person at teaching somebody how to shoot or whatever.
Trust me, we all make mistakes.
But, you know, honestly, my big thing, and I even tell people that are not interested in guns, it would benefit you to know how it functions. So if you're ever in a position where you need to learn how to, or you need to take control of a weapon and disarm it or take the ammo out of it, you're capable of it.
That's a perfect example of how to put that.
Yeah, and that's kind of something that I really try and at least do that minimum with people. You know, I may not teach them to be the greatest shot, but you know how to handle it, you know how to take the ammo out of it, you know how to make it safe. And ultimately, if you can make it safe, you can make it unsafe, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's something that's important for people to learn. You know, there's guns all over the place, you know, especially in town, and most people don't know how they function or how they function well. You know, so to be able to take that step-by-step process, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's very scary initially with kids, and that's understandable. It's not something like you had mentioned before. It's not something they're used to. It's not something that they may have grown up with. And so we want to make sure that we do it in the safest environment possible.
Yeah. What is the age group that you guys took out last time?
So with that, on those youth days, we call them H2O youth days, we took out, I believe it's from 9 to 18.
Okay.
So kids all throughout that big gap.
That's a pretty wide range.
Yeah, we'll take kids hunting as early as 9 or 10. Just depending on the maturity level and talking to the parents and seeing what they're comfortable with.
Yeah. So when you do take somebody hunting, let's say it's let's say it's like a terminally ill kid, you know, and what is the process? I'm assuming that they need to go to your website, they need to fill out some information on there, and that's like the starting point.
Yes, sir.
But as far as figuring out what kind of hunt or what kind of fishing trip you're going to take these kids on, is there some sort of evaluation that you do with the family, or how does that work?
So there's an evaluation of some sorts. It's kind of a feeling out. Basically, they go on the website, and once we have the application, we look at it, and they'll state, you know, I've always wanted to shoot a big deer, or I've always wanted to shoot an axis, or they can go on there, and so long as it's not, you know, anything too crazy, it's something that we actually have at the ranch, then it's something we're able to do.
Okay.
And so we do have a fair amount of different exotics at the Thumbtack, but they tell us what it is they're looking for. If they want to go fishing, then okay, we'll take you offshore fishing. If they want to go, you know, just go shoot some pigs and feed some people, then they'll just go do that. It just depends on what it is that they're wanting to do. The kid hunts, the kid dream hunts, we call them, for those terminally ill kids that are typically battling a life-threatening disease. They're very hard. They're very difficult. But it gives you a very good sense of perspective. Gives you a very good sense of understanding your place in the world.
Yeah. Because
your problems are nothing compared to what they've lived with. And that's all they know. You know, you think about a kid that's 7, 8 years old, they only have memories going back a couple years.
Yeah.
And if they have been battling this disease for 2 years, then that's all that they know. And they think it's normal. And it breaks my heart.
Sure.
Because that's not something that obviously you don't want to see anybody suffer. But there's especially for me, there's just a little special place in my heart for kids, and it does make it difficult. But I always look at it as, well, if I don't do it, then who's going to?
Sure.
And it's very rewarding, and I enjoy doing that a lot.
So, I'm sure there's some things you guys don't want to put out there, but what is a typical day for a hunt for a kid? That's, is it as if you're going on a paid trip? Is there like a lunch, or do you hang out and go over gun safety and then the actual hunt, and then what happens afterwards?
So I could give you the breakdown of how a trip like that would go. They'll arrive, and typically what we do is we'll have them arrive in Uvalde, because we are located in Batesville, Texas.
Okay.
Uvalde is about 20-minute drive. Not too bad. Make sure they have a license. If they don't, there's a great store there called Oasis Outback that we go to. And
that's the big one, isn't it? It's a massive
yes, sir.
store.
Yeah. It's like a mini Cabela's.
It's like a hunting Walmart.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's like a hunting Walmart. That's a very good way of putting it. So we'll go there, have lunch there, and on those kid trips, we want to make it something memorable. So we will kind of spoil them. Hey, go pick out an outfit, go pick out some boots, go pick out a hat. Go, is there anything else you want? Do you want to go blow up some tannerite this afternoon? Okay, well, let's buy some of that. We'll get you.
That's a fun day, man.
It's a very fun day.
Yeah.
It's a very fun day. And it's not only fun for the kids, but we always want to emphasize that we're there for the family as well, because they haven't gotten a break.
Sure.
And they deserve one.
Being a caretaker is a lot of work, man.
Absolutely. And so, we'll do all that and go back to the ranch, sight the gun in, make sure they're comfortable with it. We're comfortable with what they're hitting, and then the game begins.
Yeah.
Then we go hunting. So we'll drive out and sit in a blind. We have been very blessed by All Seasons Feeders. They are a very big sponsor of ours, and they allow us to.
They make some quality gear too.
Yeah, they have taken care of us.
That's good.
And so we have beautiful blinds on the ranch, and yeah, I mean, you know how hunts go. Sometimes you see stuff, sometimes you don't. It's very frustrating for me personally, when I'm on a hunt with one of those kids and we don't see anything, because then I feel as though I've let them down. Yeah. I want to make sure that they leave there happy. And I'm not saying that hunting and killing is the only thing that matters when it comes to going out hunting.
But that's the apex. That's what you're shooting for.
Exactly. That's what we're shooting for. And we want to make sure, like I said earlier, that it's something memorable. And if we can get this kid a 34-inch axis, then he's going to go home on cloud nine.
Sure.
And it makes a difference in their life.
Yeah.
We've gotten countless stories, and I actually know I took a kid out hunting. He was 6 years old.
Oh, wow, that's young.
Yeah, the young kid. His name's Austin Hinesley. And he shot a nice axis. And he was battling life-threatening disease. Austin's 7 now, and he's doing much better.
That's awesome.
He's kind of recouped his strength, and he's living his life.
Yeah.
We have another kid that we took. He was 5 at the time, actually, I believe. And his name's Grant Wagner. Grant's like 17 now.
That's awesome.
He had a 5% chance of living through his treatment. And now he's growing up.
It's amazing what a positive attitude can do for somebody who's fighting for their life. I have some friends of mine. They're up in Bernie, and they twin sisters, interiors, and so they they're interior decorators, but part of what they do is they take kids fighting terminal illnesses, and they will redecorate their room and make it a place that's comfortable for them to heal in. And very similar, man, very similar to what you guys provide. And not to, I'm sure this is something that you aren't excited for me to say, but what people need to understand is a lot of these hunts that you guys take these kids on, they are quality, top of the line hunts. And most people that are used to hunting, they understand that they're very expensive hunts, and to be able to offer this to these kids and have this experience, your website says a hunt of a lifetime, and it really is, because people don't understand that what the thing that you provide for these people, these older people and kids, and ones that you take on hunts and fishing trips, there are multiple thousands and thousands of dollars to hunt these animals, and I know that's probably not something that needs to come out of your mouth, but out of my mouth, it's very expensive. And that's something that, to be able to provide that to these families, it's massive, man, because it's not cheap. It's not cheap to do that. So it takes a lot of effort on your guys' part, and I'm sure volunteers and donors and things like that make this happen. And it's a massive venture to be able to do one of these, and for you guys to do hundreds of them, that's something. That's saying something.
Absolutely. It does take, it takes an army. It takes a lot of people working together. We have phenomenal volunteers that help us whenever we need, whether it's putting an event on or, being in the kitchen cooking or helping, go and quartering the animals, or there's always people there willing to help.
Yeah.
And we're constantly getting more. I mean, I met a kid. I actually started with the organization because I went on a hunt.
Okay.
I was 15 years old, never hunted before in my life. I'm originally from Michigan, and I moved down to Texas in 2010 to San Antonio because my dad wanted to be closer to Mexico. My father's a pastor, and he wanted to be closer to Mexico to go do missionary work. In 2011, I met Tom and filled out a youth application and went on a hunt. And I never left.
Yeah.
I'd stuck around after that because it was something that I enjoyed, and it was something where I knew that I could serve other people. My dad always instilled in us that we're here to serve other people. And this is something that I get the opportunity to do it. And it doesn't feel like work. It feels like what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. And
I'm very fortunate in that aspect. I just met a kid. I say kid, he's a few years younger than me. His name's Taz. Taz went on a hunt too, and now he's volunteering with the organization, and he's been at several events this year where he's been able to volunteer, and it's great to see when people actually come and volunteer. They want to stick around, because they see the difference that we're able to make. They see the things that we're able to do for people. So yeah, I kind of went off on a little tangent there. No, that's all right. But yeah, kind of going back to your point, it is, like you said, expensive, but we're able to do the things that we do because we don't have, a big staff or anything like that. And we have a lot of volunteers, a lot of sponsors, a lot of donors that make it possible for us.
And you guys put on other events that the public can take part in too, right?
Yes, sir.
And so y'all did a skeet shoot or something, or you're going to do a skeet shoot here? I think you did one in Odessa or something?
Yes, sir. So we just, I guess it was 2 weeks ago now, the first weekend in April, we did a clay shoot. Then we had a small banquet, and then we had the youth day on the Saturday after those two events. We have events year round, probably about 6 or 8 fundraising events, and those are going to be clay shoots, or we have an archery shoot coming up here pretty soon. We have another banquet that we're going to be having in Fort Worth in June. And then, it takes having those events to be able to raise the funds to continue to do what we're doing.
So that's also another way, I guess, if people wanted to just donate, they can go to the website, which is trinityoaks.org, right?
That's correct.
And donate there. But I mean, if they want to participate in something and donate, that's a means to do that and be able to take part in the event that you guys put on. So I think that's pretty cool too, man.
Yeah, we want to make it fun. We want people to have fun coming to our events, and if they're having fun, then they don't mind donating. And typically the people that come to our events already have that in mind, and it's a very cool thing to be able to hold events like that.
Does Tom make it out to a bunch of the events, or is he kind of a behind the scenes kind of guy?
No, Tom pretty much goes to everything.
Okay.
And he's a very busy guy. I was telling you about how he kind of grew up. He finally came into a position to be able to give back to everybody because he sells insurance.
Okay.
So that's where he was able to build his wealth a little bit. He's been very, very fortunate in that aspect. And so, he has a trip in Philadelphia for a meeting on Friday, but then he'll be back, by Sunday to go to our event the next week. He's always there.
Well, that's cool. And it's interesting to see how a lot of people who tend to bless others get blessed themselves. So, I mean, that says a lot about the type of person that he is, even to start this at its infancy down in the valley and be able to build it up to, and it seems to be growing. Like I said, when I first started following y'all, there was a few posts here and there. Y'all had a few events here and there. Y'all were catering to certain people, and then eventually that grew. And like you said, Tom doesn't say no to something. If he can make it better, he's going to do it.
Absolutely.
So that's wonderful, man. I mean, it's when I see it and I see you guys posting pictures of things, and there's been a few posts that you guys have put up where people are no longer with us, and it's nice to be able to see that memory again. I'm sure the family enjoys seeing the posts of the pictures and seeing the hunts, and like you said, they're memories that'll last a lifetime, and hopefully it's many years, but it's beautiful, and I love that you guys do that. When's y'all's next, I guess, Wounded War veteran type event?
Our next veteran event that we have coming up, we actually have a hunt that we did as a giveaway with Black Rifle and Protect, their supplement company, and they kind of sponsored this giveaway for us to do a 2-axis hunt in May. So we're taking 2 guys out, I believe 2 veterans out hunting in May for axis. So that's the next cool. That's the next thing, and I'll be guiding on that hunt. I always like to try and guide whenever I can.
That's the fun part, man.
That's the fun part. That's the fun part for sure.
That's the fun part. A lot of people assume that going hunting means you're gonna go, you're gonna harvest an animal, And I used to have a buddy whose dad, he said, we go fishing, we wouldn't catch anything. We'd skunked in Rockport all the time. And he'd always say, that's why they call it fishing, not catching,
Sir.
And it's the same thing with hunting. And one thing over the years that I've learned is to enjoy the process, because the process is the fun part.
Yes, sir.
The work starts when the animal's down, then you got to get busy. And depending on the time of the year, one thing that people fail to understand is especially when it's warm, once those ticks and don't feel the blood pumping anymore, they're out, man.
Yeah.
And they're looking for a new place to go, and it might be you.
most likely it will be you.
It most likely will be you, but
yeah.
To be able to get out there and just be in the silence, and again, to hear the wind blowing on the plains grass, and you get to see these animals come out, and you might see some does fighting or a buck fighting, and birds flying around and raccoons running around. I mean, when you can kind of take yourself out of the idea of I'm here to harvest an animal, which you are,
mm-hmm.
and you just take in the surroundings, man. We're so with technology and things being so readily accessible to us, we forget that part of life, right? It's all traffic and cell phones and, the internet and television and fast food. We don't enjoy the outdoors like we should. My dad growing up didn't have a whole lot growing up. So he learned he became a butcher at one point. So growing up, man, I hated it, man. Because he was friends with the game warden, And there would be times that the game warden would call my dad. Everybody knows him as Bear. So the game warden would call Bear and be like, "Hey, Bear, I got 10 deer. I need you to come debone and whatever." And so 10 o'clock at night on a school night, Dad's like, "Me and my brother, let's go." And that was the only time I was really concerned with school. Was when it was time to go debone deer for Mitchell Public. So it's kind of like, I can't, Dad. I got school tomorrow. No, come on, let's go. So we'd be deboning deer all night long, man. We always had animals. We didn't go hunting very often because we always had meat because everybody knew Dad is the butcher. So especially in the fall, we'd have deer or hog hanging from the driveway. Mom couldn't park under the carport, and that was just kind of our gig, man. But so it took me a while to eventually become part of what was going on as far as the hunt, right, with my buddy Bo. And so I realized, man, this is amazing, just to be out here and hang out and sit and listen and, hear sounds and see sights that you don't see every day or that you maybe don't appreciate when you do see them, Yeah. And so that was the best part. But yeah, as soon as you shot something, that's pulling the trigger was great, and being able to go see the animal go down and really appreciate, the animal. It's not this silly, I killed it, now let's party kind of thing. Yeah. Once you harvest an animal and you're the one that did it, it does something to you. It makes you appreciate that animal more.
Absolutely.
And then to be able to process it or get it processed and be able to eat off of it or share it with your neighbors or give it to some of your family and have them eat, man, that's an amazing feeling, man, to be able to share that harvest with people. And have them say, "Hey, man, that was really good." It's wonderful, man. It's wonderful.
I agree.
So let me ask you this: when somebody takes an animal with you guys, do y'all process it as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I didn't want to cut you off. But
no.
Yeah, you were
can cut me off
about
anytime, man.
You were talking about the processing. So great thing about Trinity Oaks is what we do is at minimum 50% of that deer that, say, Johnny, he's 10 years old, he can take 50% of that deer. The other 50% we throw in the pot basically, and it's processed, just ground meat that we donate to the food bank, that we donate to homeless shelters, food banks, and things like that. We also work with ranches in different municipalities that allow us to go in and I'm not going to say which ones just so that we don't get in trouble.
Sure.
But we go in with trapping companies and they'll bring the deer to us. And that's where we get the majority of our meat. We process everything there at our office. And pre-pandemic, when things were going smoothly, we would process over 120,000 pounds of meat a year.
Wow.
And
is that all donated or?
Yeah, that's all donated.
Okay.
And
outside of what people want to keep.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's all the meat that we were able to give away to people. Outside of what, the kids or the veteran that, shot their deer. So we were doing a lot more than what the past couple years have allowed us to do because, there's not as many people willing to, go out hunting, or the parents haven't really allowed their kids to go out as much just because of, the way that the world is today.
There's still a lot of nervousness about it. Absolutely.
And so we haven't quite hit those numbers, but we're still doing really good.
That is pretty good. That's a lot of meat, man.
Yeah. What it boils down to is, I believe it was somewhere around 500,000 meals a year that we were able to to help people with.
So let me ask you this: if y'all were doing, I think you said 120,000
Yes,
pounds, what are y'all capable of doing out of that plant there? And
That is
Chuck's running. Have y'all hit y'all's limit yet, or no?
So I think that was probably us running at 100%.
Okay.
When we were doing that. Now the only thing with that is Chuck is the only full-time employee out there, and so if we had more people, we could probably do a lot more.
Okay. But the facility itself, you're capable of running a lot more.
The facility, exactly.
Okay.
It's the hands. It's getting people out there consistently. People are more than willing to come during the weekend when they're off of work and things like that. But sometimes, during the week, it's a little harder to get 5 of your buddies when they have a job too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we could probably do a lot more. But given the resources we have and the hands that we do have, I feel like we're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: as far as volunteer wise, I guess if somebody wanted to volunteer, same thing, go to the website and there's a place to volunteer.
Yeah.
Is it the fall? I guess when deer season starts, is that when you really need some hands on board, or is it all year long, or is there a time of the year that you could use more help than others? I guess
the fall is definitely where it's more advantageous for us to have more people there, because that's when the ball starts rolling on all the deer. Thankfully, Texas Senate actually just passed a law recently that allows us to also take exotic meat. So axis or any exotic under the Texas Parks and Wildlife regulations, we can actually accept as well and donate that meat to people. It was kind of silly, kind of how you were talking about with pigs. You can't donate any hog meat, but we were actually able to work with the Weatherby Foundation and other organizations, kind of talking about it in Texas, in the Texas Senate, to actually get that law passed.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we're able to, receive more meat than we would have been in the past.
Is anybody pushing on the pigs, man?
I mean,
I feel like I need to go stand on the steps and start yelling. We need to push on this pig thing.
I think you might have to be the one to go do that, because there's always, I guess, just a stigma when it comes to wild hogs. I personally love them.
Yeah.
They're delicious. I'll eat pork chops, ribs, whatever it may be. But I think you might have a little more pushback on that one. Yeah.
I would love to see that, just because, like I said, they breed so fast.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's a food source that, I guess most people, like you said, there's a stigma to it, right? So most people look at that and they go, "Oh, gross pig," and they waller in their own mess, and But I tell you what, man, I don't know if that wallering is just marinating, but I think it's amazing.
Maybe. You might be onto something there.
So let me ask you this also. As far as like Joe Blow Hunter, he shoots something, he's got too much meat at the house. Can they bring that to the plant, or is that something that's off limits?
Yes, sir, you can.
Okay.
You can absolutely do that. What the process for that is, we have basically it's a gate that slides open. You back up to the cooler door, and there's a book. On that book, you have to fill out the information correctly so that it's logged, and then you can put your deer in there. If you want to do your whole deer, as long as it's field dressed and cleaned out, because some people don't clean them out as good as others.
Sure. Now, field dress, for people who don't know, is the guts and the muck on the inside.
Yeah, removing all the internal organs.
What about the hide? Do you have to have that removed?
No, it does not have to be removed.
Gotcha.
But some people may want it. If it's a buck, they probably want it for a shoulder mount or something. We'll take quartered meat as well. We have pans there.
Do you have to have your, your tag on it, or how does that work?
So that goes back to the, logging it correctly. If you have just a regular tag on your license, then to have that hooked to one of the legs when you put it in the pan works out. If you have MLDs, those are different tags for, those that do or don't know about those.
What is an MLD?
An MLD is managed land deer. It's actually MLDP. It's
Okay.
managed land deer permit. So at the Thumbtack, what allows us to hunt more, really we get to start hunting with rifle in October because we have MLDs. And so what that is basically we are surveying, we're doing a count of all the deer on the ranch. We are, harvesting a certain percentage of those animals every year. So
these going to be more like cold deer that you take?
Yes. So those would be cold deer. We do a lot of hunts where we will take trophies as well. But on, a youth hunt, you'll have a kid shoot a little forkhorn or something like that. But going back to the just donating meat and putting it in our coolers, it is something that is able to be done. All you have to do is just call. You can call me. I'll give you my phone number right now. It's 210-710-2760. And if you guys give me a call, then I can walk anybody through how to do that.
So that gate's unlocked to where if nobody's on site, you can still drop it off.
Yes, you can drop off 24/7.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
Man, that's a great deal.
Yeah.
And then Chuck comes in the morning and makes the magic happen.
Exactly. And then Chuck comes back and cleans it all up.
That's
yes,
awesome. It's when the hunts when they take a deer, you go on a trip, you take a deer. So now we've got 50% of the meat. Do y'all provide or how does that work if somebody wants a mount with what they've harvested? Do y'all help out with that, or is that something that they're responsible for on their own?
So on the youth hunts, what we do typically, because they're not shooting, what would be considered a trophy.
Right.
We actually do give the kids a European mount of their animal. If they shot a spike or a little forkhorn or something like that. If they shot a doe, we will on occasion just pay to have their hide tanned.
Okay.
When we do veteran hunts, we pay for a full shoulder mount and we get it to them. If they are located in Texas or located somewhere else, we'll ship it to them. On the dream trips, if you want a full body mount of that deer, then we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
So we actually provide the people that we take with the trophy, and we take care of that.
Do y'all have a certain taxidermist y'all work with, or is it just kind of wherever you're at, you go with a taxidermist in that area?
Yeah, so we actually do. It's called Double Nickel Taxidermy.
Okay.
Out in New Braunfels.
I was going to say, I think I've seen
yeah, they're on the side of the highway in New Braunfels, pretty close to San Marcos. But they have been amazing. On some occasions, we need a deer mount back in 2 weeks. And
that's fast.
It is fast. It's very fast.
Yeah.
When we do that, we make sure to let the family know that the hide will not be the same.
Yeah.
Because it just simply can't get done in that quick amount of time. But they'll have a form and they'll put the antlers on it and they'll make it look as close to it as possible. And we've gotten them done as quick as a week before.
That is crazy.
And because on those dream trips, we don't know how much time we have with those folks, and we want to make sure that they see that animal and are able to appreciate it before if they do pass on.
Right. Man, that is mind blowing, because that is a really quick process, and I understand the means for rushing that kind of thing. So to have people on board outside of your organization that are capable of doing that and willing to do it,
mm-hmm.
that says a lot about them as well, man. That's phenomenal work, especially even doing a European mount. So what people don't understand, a European mount, that's just the skull and bleaching and cleaning, and
mm-hmm.
There's still a process to it.
No, absolutely.
Again, that's not cheap. It's cheaper than your shoulder mount or definitely your full body, but it's amazing what you guys can put on, and again, that comes back to the pride that y'all take in the work you do. and the volunteers and the people willing to donate, because
Absolutely.
none of that is cheap, man.
No.
None of it is cheap. And
No, we're very fortunate.
you know, I'm going to throw this out there so you can slap my hand later, but a lot of this sounds like it's into the $20,000 range, you know, for some of this stuff. You know, when I go look online for a hunt, you're looking at access, you're looking between 15 and 25. I mean, it's a lot of money, you know. And for you guys to this is a major thing that people don't understand that you guys are providing, you know, and you're doing it for amazing people too. It's not like
we're able to do it a lot cheaper than that too.
Yeah. And that helps.
Oh, absolutely. What we've actually budgeted what it costs for us to put on a dream trip. You know, when we do the little shopping sprees and things like that, it may be a little bit above it, but it boils down to just about $3,000.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to, you know, take this family and whether it be a kid or an adult, to take them hunting. But yeah, it's not a cheap thing.
No, it's not.
But we're very fortunate that we do have the people around us that make it a lot more simple for us.
So let me ask you this: Is Tom the most charming guy on the planet? Because if I went to these people to ask for their efforts, I don't know that I would get the response that maybe you guys or Tom's getting, because it's huge, man.
He's a salesman, that's for sure. But I think what it comes down to is when people see what it is that we do, it's one thing for me to tell you, and even me, this conversation right now that we're having, I'm telling you all these things, and you know, your face is lighting up, and you understand the parts that are moving that go into it, but it's a whole nother thing for you to actually see it.
Yeah.
I would love for you to come out on, you know, when we do one of those dream trips, just so you can see the impact that we're able to have on that family, because it's a completely different feeling. It's a completely different sense of pride and enjoyment. And it's not about, you know, the person like me, the guide taking them out hunting, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's not fun, because it is.
Oh yeah,
it absolutely is.
And I'd imagine to see the look on people's faces, especially first timers. You know, like you said, whether you're taking inner city kids or just people that have never been before, you know, it's people don't understand what they don't understand. Right.
Yes, sir.
And to be out there and to see that in them, and to see the excitement and see, you know, the joy that they're getting at is something that you know, a lot of us have taken for granted. You know, I mean, how many times have you gone hunting as a youth, or people listening to this, going out with your buddies and you don't shoot anything and it's kind of bummed out and you go back in, but you know, to remember your first time going to do that, you know, these kids are spending the time with their family and I mean, you turn into a part of their life, you know, because that memory, you're part of that memory too.
And I'm not the only one. I'm not the only guide that we have. We have a lot of guys that help us, a lot of volunteers that are staples and make sure that they help whenever they can. I mean, it is very rewarding to create a type of relationship like that with the families and with the participants. But definitely, I won't lie, I try not to. I'm a very emotional person.
Sure, I am too, man.
And if something makes me sad, then I might cry like a baby.
Yeah.
And being on those trips with, especially like I kind of alluded to earlier, with those kids, is something that it makes you feel so small.
Yeah.
Because in the grand scheme of things, you're doing just a tiny, these are usually just weekends or 2 or 3 days, you know, during the week. And just the relationships that you're able to form with those families in that short amount of time, and the sense of, you know, actual closeness that you feel to them, is something that I've never experienced anywhere else. So it's really cool.
And that buildup has to be huge for the people that y'all help. The buildup to the weekend of,
Oh yes.
and even the weeks afterwards. I mean, you talk about it going for a weekend, but this is weeks and weeks of them preparing and thinking about it. And if you haven't hunted before or gone on a big fishing trip before, you dream about what you're going to see. You dream about what you're going to catch. It's in your head, man. It stays there till the day you get there. And then the day after, even if you don't take anything, you think about all the experiences and the people that you met, and the buying of clothes and taking a trip and riding the whatever ATV or whatever you drove out there, or massive truck with the seats all over the place.
Big truck. Yes, sir.
It's like going on a mini safari, man. And so that's major for people, and especially when they're not feeling well, or they're even if they're not sick, if they're just, veterans that are experienced something and they've been through they've seen their friends, pass, or they've gone through losses, or they have more rough days than your typical person does. I mean, this is something that just turns that off, and you can be somewhere else doing something else that isn't part of the everyday mundane that kind of keeps you in that pocket of being bummed out. I mean, it's what you guys are providing, the service y'all provide. It's massive, man. It's beautiful. And like I said, when I first came across y'all, I was taken back by what y'all did, And then I remember going to y'all's careers one day, and what do they have over there? And I was like, these guys are like top secret. But no, man, I love it, and I think it's great. And it not just the process of the hunting and the taking of the animal, and then the processing, and then providing them with a mount, or the memory. I love it, man. I love hunting and fishing, and I love guns and the outdoors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's funny because a lot of people, I'm sitting here giggling like a little kid, but what people don't understand is it's a massive endeavor for you guys to put this on for people, and what you're providing for them it's beautiful, man. I love it. Absolutely love it.
We're very fortunate to do what we do, and I've been a part of the organization now for about 11 years, if you can believe that. I'm 26.
I was gonna say you're like 12.
Yeah, I got a baby face.
He's very handsome and very baby face.
Yeah, I do have a baby face, but I have been a part of this organization for 11 years now.
That's awesome.
And I'm not going anywhere, and this organization isn't going anywhere. We want to continue to grow. We want to continue to impact more people in different parts of Texas. And we're actually, I say Hawk. He's one of my coworkers. Him and I are kind of going back and forth. There's an organization in, I believe it's North Carolina, that wants to do one of our youth days.
Oh wow!
So maybe this summer, him and I are going to drive out there and go help put on a youth day for some kids in North Carolina. I mean, we want to impact as many people from as many places as we can.
So right now you're strictly operating in Texas, right?
For the most part, I would say about 99% of our programs and everything happen in Texas. We do have the occasional dream hunt that they'll go on an elk hunt in Colorado or New Mexico or Oklahoma, things like that. But 99% of the time, it's here in Texas.
Okay, that's
yes,
awesome.
Sir.
And y'all's fishing trips are usually down maybe the Corpus area?
Yeah, a little south of Corpus. It's actually more Port Mansfield.
Okay.
Yeah, so because we have that house there that allows us to sleep 18 people.
Wow,
so
that's awesome.
It's a fully handicap accessible house with I think it's about 400-foot pier with lights on it, and the pier is designed so that two wheelchairs can pass each other.
Okay.
So that there's enough space, if there is multiple people that are in a wheelchair, they can still get around. So that's where we do most of our fishing. We do some stuff in Port Aransas and things like that every now and then. But yeah, I mean, we do stuff wherever we can, and we're always looking for new, whether it be individuals or property owners that are interested in helping us to take more people out.
Gotcha.
We don't have to go and shoot, your 170-inch deer. We just fine taking 2 kids, 4 kids, to go shoot some does.
Yeah.
And the more people that we can work with, the more we can do.
Who helps y'all with y'all's? Because it sounds like y'all really do a good job of taking into consideration ADA requirements and being able to, have accessibility to things. Who helps y'all with that? Are these buildings that you're buying, like a house down at Port Mansfield or another house, are they already equipped with all that, or do y'all bring in a team to renovate all that stuff, or how does that work?
So we actually did a remodel on a home that was already there. It was a shack before, but they just did a remodel with everything. I don't believe we actually worked closely with ADA. I believe it was just going off of the specifications that they require for, a location to be handicap accessible.
Yeah.
There's no stairs anywhere. There's roll-in showers. It's everything you need to stay there comfortably.
That's very important for families with somebody with special needs and in wheelchairs. It's hard enough to. You talked about all seasons feeders helping out with the blinds and whatnot. So I'm sure they're taking that accommodation into consideration. But at the same time, there's a lot that goes into that because there is a lot of need to be able to get a child maybe that might be a little immobile or immobile into a building and comfortable and be able to shower and enjoy their experience, and not having that accessibility. It would be tough to have them enjoy that experience. So
yeah, and we actually have one of our focuses when we build new buildings or anything like that at the ranch is to make sure that they are handicap accessible, because we want to make sure that anybody can use them. And we do have a lot of individuals guys that were in war that or may have lost a limb or something like that, and we want it to be as comfortable for them as it possibly can be, and that goes into.
Do y'all work with a contractor in particular, or y'all just hire people that are available to it?
We just hire people that are available to it, and we just give them specifications that need to be met. And
so that's another good volunteer opportunity, is somebody
absolutely
with some construction background.
If you know anybody that does any type of home building or anything like that.
You know what? I may know a guy.
Yeah.
I'll ask him. Well, man, tell me what else y'all have going on, and then let's get into how people can, services that you guys need volunteers for, and how people can go about doing that kind of thing. So what do you have coming up here in the near future? You said you have a couple of hunts in May, right?
Yeah, we have a couple of hunts in May. At the end of May, I believe that's Memorial Day weekend, we have an event that we're going to be hosting at Thumbtack. It's open to the public. Would love for you to come out if you're not busy. Basically what it is, it's called Carry the Load, and it's an organization that basically wants to focus on remembering veterans and those that weren't able to make it back home.
Sure.
And so what we're doing there on Memorial Day weekend is we basically map out a course, and you walk for your buddy or your friend that didn't make it back.
Sure.
And it's just something that we do that allows us to have families come and camp out. We're going to provide food and drinks and everything for anybody that comes. But the more people that we have there, the better. We're going to have that just open to the public. So I think we're going to have like the Boy Scouts come. We're going to have a few different people from Houston and as many people as we can from the organization internally and the volunteers. But
Chuck's going to be out there burning meat?
Chuck will probably be out there burning meat. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes, sir. So that's the next event that people could go to. I believe it's going to be Saturday. That Saturday, I don't know if that's the 30th or the 31st of May, that we're going to be doing. So that's the next thing for people to come to. We also have in here, I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna look at my phone. We have an event coming up in Fort Worth, and it is a small gala that we're gonna be holding on. We call it the Back the Brave gala. It's focused on, law enforcement, and that's kind of the theme of it.
Okay.
And we always want to make sure that we support our law enforcement and, show that support to them. We host a couple events in September where we do a Back the Blue dove hunt and things like that. So we're always, looking to show our appreciation to the people that serve us.
Yeah.
Whether it be our first responders or our veterans and our military.
And a lot of these events are going to be, I guess they would all be on your website. So if
Yes,
people
sir.
wanted to follow up on that and to get a little more information on it, they could go to trinityoaks.org.
Yes, sir.
And I guess you can volunteer on trinityoaks.org. You can donate. You can see what events guys have coming up.
Yes, sir.
And you have videos on there, photos of previous hunts and stuff. So it's
absolutely.
It's a great website to go check out.
TrinityOaks.org. You can check us out on Instagram. It's Trinity Oaks Nonprofit. On Facebook, it's just Trinity Oaks. And you can find us at all those places to learn more about what we do and about any of the upcoming events that we have.
And if anybody's done, so as far as meat that you can take out at the processing facility, it's deer, axis. What else can you take out there?
If someone brought a zebra, a kudu,
So anything exotic.
anything exotic,
Okay.
that would be classified as an exotic through the state of Texas.
Just not a wild pig.
Just not a wild pig, unfortunately. Yeah.
I'm gonna start working on that here pretty soon.
Yeah, there you go. Now you got something new to work
That's
on.
my hill to die on, man.
There you go.
But man, Ruben, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you making time for me. I love what you guys are doing. I definitely would want to make some events. I want to come check it out and see it for myself. And
Absolutely.
And
Love to have you.
man, I'm super excited for you guys. And I know that there is pride in what you do and what all of you do. I know there's pride in it. I know that it can be a humbling experience. And I know that you guys benefit from what you do spiritually. But at the same time, you're doing God's work, man. You
Absolutely.
really are. You
That's
really
what we're
are.
here to do.
You
That's
really
what we're
are.
here to do. I was 2 days old when I went to church for the first time, and I have been an avid believer since I was a child. And, it just goes back to how I was saying earlier, we're just here to serve.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm doing. I'm just serving.
And if you make it out to one of these Trinity Oak events and you see Ruben, he's got a baby face, so come say hi to him. And if you happen to run across Tom, give him a big old high five because Tom's the man.
You can't miss Tom, that's for sure.
I appreciate it, Ruben. Thank you, brother, and thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me, Gabe. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.